Content disclaimer. Views, comments, and opinions expressed by guest speakers or authors on this YouTube channel do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by this channel's broadcasters and its sponsors. Parental guidance is advised. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teachers, scholarship, education, and research. For fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Well, good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be watching this broadcast. Welcome to King Simon Presents Quality People, family. And I hope y'all are doing well out there this beautiful Sunday afternoon. And we got a special show for you. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, because we know that sharing is caring all the time. And of course, don't forget, you can like, subscribe, share, and circulate, donate to the channel also. All right, because we got a very big shoe for you today, a very special show for you. The topic is going to be the content of martial arts, discipline, and much more. We got our special guest that will be on with us momentarily. His name is Silas Shaw. That's right, Brother Silas Shaw will be on with us, and I can't wait till you get to hear our brother out, as he will be dropping a lot of wisdom about creating content for martial arts and the martial arts world. I hope everybody out there is doing well themselves. I hope the family is doing well. Today is December the 3rd, of course. So a big up to the great people that are celebrating their birthday in the month of December. Of course, December 1st was Richard Pryor. Happy birthday to Richard Pryor and Janelle Monáe. And then December 2nd was Barbara Ann Tier. Brother Kwesi Cummins is also celebrating on the December 2nd. Also, Ayo Kamati, Mr. Irritated Genie, if y'all remember him, he's also celebrating. Celebrated his birthday yesterday. And today we have Tiffany Haddish celebrating her birthday today. And another sister named Crystal E. Faye is also celebrating her birthday. And I know there's much more. Of course, tomorrow is going to be Jay-Z's birthday. So that should be very interesting to see what he does for his birthday. If he's not doing a party, he's probably just chilling. All right. Want to remind all of you beautiful people that later on tonight, we have Master Yao coming in. The founder of the Grand Trine Tantra method and all that is within it. And that's happening at 7:07 tonight with the one, the only Grandmaster Yao will be with us tonight. And this coming Wednesday, we have Natasha Pierre-Louis. She will be speaking on the power of the healing power of visual art on trauma. And then on the doubleheader on December the 10th will be Sharon Gordon, who is an award-winning producer, actress, storyteller, narrator, and so much more, and highly acclaimed journalist. She will be on at 3:03 p.m. on December the 10th. And then that evening, we will have the great Copeland Forbes, who was not only one of Bob Marley's managers or was a part of the apprentice team for Bob Marley. We have the one, the only Copeland Forbes, who was also the manager of Dennis Brown and many other people he's worked with, like Marcia Griffiths of the I-Threes. And I've worked with him also, very good brother. And on the 13th, we have an astrologer extraordinaire, the one, the only Samuel F. Reynolds will be in the building. From Skeptic to Believer, a personal journey in discovering the transformational powers or transformative powers of astrology. This brother is not only a Muslim brother, but he was also a skeptic in astrology, but he is a very well, and when you're a skeptic, I tell people all the time, when you're skeptical about astrology and numerology, once you start doing the dig deep and the deep dives in astrology or numerology or any of these different spiritual modalities, you'll start seeing why Europeans started removing and started separating it from science and metaphysics and because what happens is now when you separated astrology from astronomy, now you're separating the metaphysics or the spiritual from the physical. And that's what Europeans have done in regards to separating astronomy from astrology, when if there's a microcosmic universe, there is a macrocosmic universe. There's always a duality, and they all have energetic spirit and energy behind it. So once you respect and understand that, our brother Samuel F. Reynolds, who is a practicing Muslim, will be coming to explain the nuances and the deepness of it. So enough respect to him. And coming up in Nicholas, Brooklyn, do remember, get him a call at 718-858-4400. Master teacher and Qigong master himself, Tai Chi master and martial arts himself, will be in Nicholas, Brooklyn on December the 16th. Wayne Chandler will be in Nicholas, Brooklyn with special guest. Kaba Kamane is supposed to be passing through. Adinka Butler is supposed to be passing through. Sister Kafunya is one of the promoters, and a brother, Ankh Rising Sun, and our dear sister Nicholas, the owner of Nicholas, Brooklyn, will be there. And do remember, if you want to take my class, my webinar that I recently taped, please, you can pay for this class and actually receive the link in your email by PayPal or Cash App. Just make sure you put your email address in the comment section of the payment, after the payment, the comment section, which is PayPal or Cash App, and I will email you the workshop or the webinar that it helps you to learn how to apply your own mathematics to your own self. All right. And big up to Carrie Ann Ingram, my partner in Vibes, on Wednesday at the Healing Vibes. Hit her up at carrieanningram.com or Linktree/Carrie Ann Ingram. And do remember Lloyd Strayhorn. Hit up one of my teachers, Lloyd-Strayhorn.com. Hit him up. And remember, if you want to advertise or sponsor or advertise during the commercial break and intermission, please contact us via email right there. And remember, advertisement doesn't cost, it pays. All my books are available via Amazon, but if you want the direct links, go to my Linktree/KingSimonthenumerovator. And if you want to book a session, a numerovational session or consultation with me, text me your full name and date of birth to 347-496-1022. Remember, the study of numbers or numerology is applied mathematics. Learn how to use your numbers and they will guide you. I don't do, and remember, accept what is, let go of what was, and have faith in what will be. And remember what Dr. B. Sirius says: I forgive myself, my family, and others for imperfection, and I am thankful for my life. So give all those great people a well-deserved round of applause. At 12:12, we have a special guest coming up. An extraordinary brother who's been through a lot in his life, but has taken what he's been through and put application to manifestation. And that's very important, putting application to manifestation, because a lot of people may get knowledge, wisdom, and even understanding over time, but a lot of people don't want to put the application to manifestation, because usually they can learn to apply something, but are they willing to take it to the next level of their life, especially whatever you went through? Because anything that you went through in your life is a lesson and a blessing. And once you understand that everything can be a lesson and turned into a blessings, like they used to say, turning lemons into lemonades, and keeping it moving. And that's a good thing. And that's what I learned to do over the years. I know I've reinvented myself numerous times, and I know this brother has done so in his own right. But before we bring the brother on, we want to make sure that we acknowledge people that are coming in. All of y'all that are coming in, thank y'all very much for showing yourself, showing in and coming in and showing love. By all means, please share, like, and subscribe. Like I said, there it is. Share, like, subscribe, share, and circulate. Donate to the channel. And that's what it is. You can go to PayPal /King Simon or Cash App $ King Simon 3158. And the brother that we also have on our line will be showing his links, and all of his links is actually in the description of this video. So when you get a chance, make sure you tune in. It'll send you to all his YouTube channels, all the links and all that different type of stuff. But we're going to be showing definitely his email and his Cash App and his PayPal during the show. All right, so it's now 12:11, which in the next minute, we're going to be bringing our brother on. Let me show you this flyer here first. Hold on one second. There we go. Boom. So before we bring on our brother here, now the brother that we're about to bring on, as a young man and as a young boy, Silas Shaw was briefly introduced to martial arts in Brooklyn, New York. Later, as an adult serving a federal prison sentence, he met a mysterious stranger who began teaching him a condensed form of martial arts and tailored for the realities of prison life. Once released, Silas Shaw was introduced to fighting concepts of Dr. Moses Powell, the late Dr. Moses Powell, a system of scientific street fighting that reminded him of the condensed training he received while incarcerated. His exposure to Dr. Powell's martial arts teaching, called Sanukis Ryu, led him on a decade-long journey of meeting, interviewing, and learning from over 40 Black martial arts masters within the New York City area. From this journey, Silas Shaw has created a documentary called The Grand Masters of New York, Part 1. And in this work, he has captured the spirit of a time in New York history that produced a class of martial arts the world has never seen. And without further ado, we want to welcome on our beautiful stage of King Simon Presents Only Quality People, the one, the only, Silas Shaw is in the building. How are you, my brother? How are you, my brother?
I'm great, brother Simon. I'm great. Thank you for having me up here, brother. Is this light behind me too bright?
Well, it's definitely shining forward, but I know. But if you could pull down your camera a little,
boom. How about that? That's good.
I mean, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. But if you pull down your camera, it probably wouldn't have been, pulled down. Yeah, right there. Yeah, a little. Then the light would be right. It wouldn't be right, super bright if you. Okay. Yeah, but try it again. Try the light again. Boom. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, yeah. All right. But if you move, if you move your head,
let me just knock it out.
Let's knock it out. Yeah, keep it moving. No problem. It'll come back. How you been, brother? How's everything?
I'm great, brother. I'm great, but good to see you. I didn't even know that you weren't in Brooklyn anymore.
Yeah, I'm a Brooklynite, man, all day, every day. But I had to move and get my mind closer to my grandchildren and my children, my 4 children out here. But I got 13 grandchildren now, so it's like it's a journey.
Yeah, it sounds like one.
Well, I have 9 children, and 4 of them had 13 children. So I know there's probably going to be more before I even leave this planet. But my job on this platform is always to leave legacy, write my books and all that kind of stuff. And I tell people, I wasn't the best of father because I was chasing entertainment and everything else. But I understand now, that's why I put up what I put up about forgiveness. because children have to forgive. I have to forgive them. The mothers have to forgive. I have to forgive them. I have to forgive my father and my mother. All this has to go through, just because
yes.
in the wildlife of New York. I remember at the age of 15 telling my Canadian cousin, my cousin from Canada, in Flatbush, Brooklyn, that if I don't leave Flatbush, that area at that time, back during the crack era, either I am going to jail or I'm going to die. I remember saying that. So I was in and out of the martial arts. Of course, all of us from when we was young, we all knew about jailhouse 52s and all that kind of stuff. So I was practicing that when I was young. But Bruce Lee, Jim Kelly, Ron Van Cleef, the great ones, all showed us the way of what we need to do. And I remember my cousin presenting a picture of Dr. Moses Powell and Master Duncan coming to Jamaica back in the day when I was young, only 8 years old. They showed me between 8 and 10. I remember, and I never forgot that picture. They just couldn't remember. They kept on saying Ronald McDonald, but it was Ronald Duncan. They just didn't know because they didn't have a name in back of the picture, but they remember what, because they was from Jamaica and they was just coming to it. So on your journey, brother, let's cut right to your journey, because it's a journey that you've been through a lot, and you kind of discovered the martial arts along your journey, and then officially kind of connected to it because of the harsh prison life, federal prison at that. So I know that's a whole different animal, regular than regular. I've been in regular jail, and that ain't nothing compared to what I've been hearing about federal prison. But tell us your story, Brother Silas, and that you got two interesting combination of names, which is Silas Muhammad has that name, Silas, of course, and then Shaw, which I met Yusuf Shaw, the captain, the great captain Yusuf Shaw of the FOI back in the day. And that's a powerful name. And I met Tariq Shaw, so I know Tariq Shaw was something else back in the day too. But tell us about your journey into the martial arts and how your life ended up going down this road, brother. Please.
Okay. Well, you kind of kick-started it with the area. I think we might be around the same age, and we know that the late 70s, 80s, Bruce Lee, Jim Kelly, Chuck Norris movies, and all of that. The whole country was kind of on that wave.
Yeah.
And a lot of us, our parents or grandparents would allow us to go to a karate school.
Yeah.
I went to the karate school on the old Flatbush Y on Foster Farragut.
Oh, yeah. I live right there.
Flatbush, right.
Yeah, I used to live around that area. Yeah. Still over there, Vanderbilt, not too far from Vanderbilt.
Right, and Shion, he was Sensei Lee Ireland at the time. That was my first instructor.
Wow.
And I will say that when I used to talk about my martial trajectory, I would always leave that out because I was so young. But one of the masters I ran across chastised me about that and said, you can't leave out any of your teachers because they all put time into your development.
Your history, right?
So I always mention that, even though my time at Shotokan Karate at the Flatbush Y with Shion Lee Island was very brief.
Right.
And one of the reasons it was brief, I didn't really take to it.
Right.
And I'll explain as we go on why I didn't take to it. I didn't know why, but it just didn't really click with me.
Right.
So for maybe 10 years, I didn't have any training, but I had a tendency to get into a lot of fights.
Yeah.
And I like to say, even though I would fight a lot, I didn't win all my fights. You'd win some, you'd lose some. It was I wasn't the type of person that walk in the room and everybody started shaking, but I was the type of person I would fight you.
Right.
And when it comes to what people call bullies and things like that, that is a deterrent. Just not so much that you're knocking everybody out and putting everybody down, but just people knowing that you will fight them. Because a lot of bullies are lazy. They was somebody that's not gonna fight at all. In fact, the definition of getting bullied is not fighting at all.
Exactly.
Anyway,
excuse me.
Whenever I would lose a fight, I would process that, because at a certain point, my mother sent me to North Carolina because I was getting into that sort of thing up here. And little did she know, I ended up fighting more down there because I didn't know anybody. And And as you know, in the cities, we fight more with our hands.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, 52 and all of that. So, so my handwork and hand speed, they picked up on that real quick. So it got to the point wherever I would get into a fight, they would just grab me and throw me on the ground and put in work on me, right? And I would always process that. And what happened, And I think that was a puzzle that went into later construction, just trying to figure out the differences in the way we fought.
Right.
So I ended up going to prison. Like you mentioned the crack era. You said, like yourself, you would either end up dead or in prison.
Yeah.
I ended up in prison.
Right.
And at a certain point, now let me say this, back in the late 80s, something very phenomenal happened in our community and in the country, really. The federal government began the practice of locking up young Black men and women and putting them in federal prison.
Right.
Prior to that, you didn't really have that. You had, big time bank robbers and big drug dealers and international criminals, and that's who went into the feds.
Right.
But they started locking up all levels because of crack and the crack wars and the crack epidemic and all of that. They started locking up young Black men.
Mm-hmm.
That created a synergy, if you will, because you had these young brothers coming into federal prison. And you had older brothers who had been in federal prison that were on their way out, and we met in the middle. So, and I mentioned that time frame because I don't know what it's like now, but in the late 80s, that meant that you may have had old Black Panthers that had been in for 20 years.
Yeah,
that's who's there waiting for you.
Right.
Old bank when bank robbery was big. You have the old bank robbers. That's who was in there waiting for you.
That's right.
And then far as the old FOI, you have brothers in the FOI that have been in for 20 years. They didn't even know anything about Minister Farrakhan and his leadership because they were in prior to 75.
Exactly.
So I call they were like dinosaurs because they were like relics, like they were chiseled out of stone. They didn't smile, they didn't play.
Yeah.
But those were our teachers.
Mm.
And another phenomenon that you had in the federal system was that since you had this huge wave of young people coming into that, we all formed almost like a big gang without realizing it. Because who you relating to the other young guy, you're not hanging out with with a 50-year-old man who's been locked up for the last 30 years. You're hanging out with other guys that are like you,
right?
And there was one now. But you're all over because at this time I was in Pennsylvania, and there was a brother from Brooklyn that was a part of the Ansar community.
Yeah, I used to be in the Ansar community. Yes, sir.
I used to love the books. I went through a period where that's all I was reading, and he and I was still kind of wild. I was still smoking weed and making knives and drinking hooch and all of that, but we were friends. So every once in a while, I would slow down enough and he and I would talk. He was just one of those people that I was always glad to see him. And I think he was always glad to see me, and we would talk.
Good.
So one day he said that he met a brother that was teaching him martial arts.
Yes.
And you know how men are. I didn't admit how fascinated I was when he first told me, but I was very fascinated and intrigued when he said his brother was teaching him martial arts.
Right.
And I remember just telling him, yeah, keep me up to date with that.
Right. What was the name of the brother that in the Ansar?
Wali.
Oh yeah, I know. Do Wali? Oh, come on now.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. I go back from 84. I was in there in 84.
Yeah, we have to talk too, of course.
Where is he now? Where is he now?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. After that period, I never heard from him because we weren't close enough to stay in contact. It's just
now, how did he look? What was, because there was like two Walis that I knew in him.
All right, he was, like I said, a young brother. He had to be in his early 20s at the time. This was in 90, maybe 92.
Okay.
And of course, yeah, he had big hair then, but he was in prison, so I don't know how he rolled on the street.
Okay, it's probably
in fact, he had kind of like Asian-like eyes. I do remember that.
Okay, see, I know two to three different Walis. So that 90, I left in 88, so I wouldn't probably know that one.
Right. Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
And he would. So one day he came up to me, No, he told me, I said, who's the brother that's teaching you? And he would describe him to me. And it used to drive me crazy because it's only 1,000 people in the prison. Not everybody's black. And I couldn't picture who he was talking about. I would walk around the compound and just see if I could get a glimpse of who this person is that was teaching. And that's why I said, mysterious brother.
Right.
And so then one day, Wali came to me and said, he wants to meet you. But he didn't want to meet me because of me. It's just what I found out later was that the brother's name was Kenyatta. And Kenyatta, he knew, among other things, the animal styles in Kung Fu.
Right.
And at the time, I didn't know that a lot of those animal styles are based on your body type. Yeah. I don't know if you remember in the old Run Shaw movies, Bolo, Tiger style. It's a big brother, right?
Snake, all
Tiger, right?
Tigers
are known for their big, strong bones. So you usually teach Tiger to a big, strong person, right?
Exactly.
So he said, he wants to teach somebody Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee's thing. He said he wanted I was very wiry. He said he wanted a skinny brother. So that's what he meant when he said he wanted to meet you. He was like, I know a skinny brother,
Right.
And now Kenyatta's deal was he only taught Muslims, even though he didn't claim Islam, because he had a teaching style that once he met you and once he liked you, all he taught was maiming, killing, gouging, extreme techniques because we were in prison. And his philosophy was such that because we're in prison and because it's a volatile environment, and also because you're not supposed to teach martial arts, you're not even supposed to train martial arts, you're not supposed to have martial arts books or anything like that. And then it's so ephemeral. You might get transferred, you might go to the hole. So his thing was, if I meet you and I like you, if I only stand in front of you one time and get a chance to teach you, if you practice what I teach you, his words were, the average person will have a hard time dealing with you. And the reason why he only taught Muslims is because he didn't want to be irresponsible and teach this sort of thing to someone who would use it over the telephone or use it over the TV or use it over a gambling debt. He said that Muslims love peace.
That's right.
So I'm going to teach this to somebody who will only use it if you disturb his peace. Right?
Right.
So I remember the day that I met him, it was over the gym. They had a bathroom over the basketball court and over the weight room. And I was in this bathroom, and as soon as I saw him, I realized why I couldn't picture him. Because he was a very short brother. He was very slim.
Right.
He had his hair pulled back in a ponytail. He used to always wear a do-rag.
Of course.
He had long nails, and he used to kind of like walk on his toes. And my first thought when I saw him, I said, this dude looks like a pimp. Right? That's what he didn't look like a martial artist. That's why I could never pin him when I was looking for who he was.
Right.
And
unassuming.
Yes. Because he looked like he would hurt you.
Right.
But not necessarily martial. Like he just, he street cat. He like a street cat.
Of course.
And in fact, side thing, he was in prison because his primary art was ninjutsu. And he was in prison because he would train young brothers in Detroit. That's where he was from. And they were robbing jewelry stores using, like in the movies, ninja tactics. Right? That's what he was in prison for. Right?
That's why he don't want to give it to nobody knuckleheads.
Right. And that's how he learned the art. And I don't like to always tell this part because I don't want people to think I'm lying because it sounds very fantastic.
Right.
But I'll tell you what he told me. He when he was in Vietnam, he was part of a group called the Shadow Force. And the Shadow Force were like black Green Berets, which means they got a lot of the jobs that they didn't want to give to the Green Berets, meaning like suicide missions.
Right.
And he said that their main jobs that they would get was if one of the American officers who was, this is Vietnam, who was always white, if one of them ever got captured, their mission was to go into the camp and either rescue the officer or blow the whole camp up. Because if we let them torture the officer gonna start talking. So we can't leave him in there.
Right.
So he said that whenever they would get the directives, that they got one of our guys, said they would, remember, they all brothers.
Right.
They look at one would look at the other, they said, go get the bombs. They said they never tried to rescue. They were just, every time they got a mission, they would just blow the joint up. Right. And there was it was a Chinese brother named Master Yang that was affiliated with them. And as reward for his service to the United States government, the army, or what have you, he was granted like citizenship.
Right.
So when he parted ways with them, he told them, "I'm going to San Francisco. If you're ever in San Francisco, come check me out." Kenyatta said he was the only one that went by there. And like I said, Kenyatta's primary art was ninjutsu, which is Japanese. So when he went by the school where Master Yang was, he said he met Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was one of the people that they tried to get to replace Bruce Lee after Bruce Lee died. Yeah, right. And Bruce Lee, since he was going to be the next Bruce Lee, he practiced Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee's system. And they traded. He showed Bruce Lee some ninjutsu. Bruce Lee showed him the Jeet Kune Do, and he would go around the dojo and he would learn from the different masters. He would learn snake, and he would learn dragon, he would learn, different things. That's how he had the plethora of arts that he was able to teach us.
Right.
So that's how he ended up getting me up in there. And we would train, and it was something very, I don't know if mystical is the word, but I feel like I'm on a certain trajectory of martial arts because I always find myself in front of these extraordinary teachers under extraordinary circumstances, because anybody who's been to prison know that what I'm going to say is not likely to happen, because we would train every day, maybe 5-6 times a week in the chapel, unsupervised for maybe 1-2 hours. That's not supposed to happen in prison, because everybody's there paid to watch you.
Right.
You're not supposed to be unsupervised, and you're not supposed to be unsupervised training martial arts in prison, because it's damn near illegal to train in martial arts in prison.
Right.
But we were able, because I worked in the chapel, and I would get the person, what they call like the yard officer. I would get up, it would be dark, and I would ask him to open up the chapel for me so I can get a head start cleaning. And he would say, sure. He would open the door and leave. As soon as he leave, we would come in and we would train. Right. Nobody was in there. And, word got out, and they would try to catch us other places. We would train in the library, and we would train, in the music rooms and,
right.
and in the cells and different things like that, because we had to keep moving around.
And that allowed y'all to like practice certain scenarios. If you're in the library or you're in a cell in close quarters,
right.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Adapt.
Remember, he's ninjutsu, so he's already thinking like that anyway.
Exactly.
And one thing that kind of directed my thoughts on martial arts was that he really was not into the belts.
Me neither.
He really, because he really didn't like that. And for a long time, I didn't like it. I don't like it for me, but I came to realize that
you understand.
It's just like, right, it's like alphabets,
right.
When it would serve you to learn your alphabets, because you need to be able to write, you need to be able to read, and if you're not able to read or write, you might make it through life, but you're at a disadvantage. Now some people, they learn their alphabets and they're able to write books and give lectures, and they may even teach English or become a professor. That's good for them. We need people like that,
right?
Because I appreciate a good book. I appreciate a good lecture. I like people that have devoted time. Well, that's like how martial arts is,
right.
So the people that take their time to learn these systems and to go through the ranks and become masters and become grandma, they're valuable.
Yes.
But not everybody has to do that. And he showed me that in order to be able to protect yourself and in order to be able to maneuver through the violence that may inhabit our lives, you don't have to devote your life because you and I both know that in order to become a martial arts master, it really has to be a religion. I don't care what you call yourself.
That's right.
In order to reach mastery, your religion has to be martial arts.
Exactly.
You're not a master. In fact, my late teacher, Professor Latif Sadiq, once said that Dr. Moses Powell said, "You must love the martial arts like you love a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't love it like a woman, you'll never really get it." Right.
Yeah. Sadiq, rest in peace to that brother. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's an interesting, and he's
mm-hmm.
I trained with Professor Latif for 2 years in his basement.
Right. Okay.
And
wow.
Again, with the way I met him, when I started, I guess I'm kind of skipping.
Right.
But when I started interviewing the masters here in New York, there's a movie that one of my favorite movies. I like vampire movies. I like a good vampire.
Me too, brother. Me too.
And one of my favorite vampire movies was 30 Days of Night.
30 Night, yeah, that was nice. Yeah, that was tough.
And this is before streaming and all of that. So I used to always look when I see the guys on Nostrand or Flatbush selling DVDs, I would always ask them, "Do you have 30 Days of Night?" So there was a Muslim brother selling DVDs, and I went to ask him if he had it. And he said something. I forgot what he said, but it reminded me. I never met Dr. Moses Powell, but I had been studying his material and talking to his students that when this brother, his name was, you might know him too, Abu Safi. He's out of Takwa.
Oh yeah. I'm supposed to interview. I'm supposed to interview Imam Siraj soon. So.
Oh, really?
Takwa. Yeah.
And he said something that reminded me of Dr. Powell, and I said, "Are you a martial artist?" And he said, "If I was, I would never tell you." And I hit him with, "Well, whatever happened to each one, teach one." And when I said that, it was like I had dumped a cold bucket of water over his head. He snapped out of it.
Woke him up.
And he started talking. And he started talking about Moses Powell. And there was a sister selling jewelry. And he started telling her about Dr. Powell.
Right.
And he said, yeah, he was 230 pounds and he could stand on one finger.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's bullshit. I don't believe that. So they started
y'all was on Flatbush and Church then.
Right. We were on Nostrand, Nostrand Church.
Nostrand Church, yeah. I know. I used to give out flyers over there back in
that's exactly where we were at.
Yeah.
And so they're arguing to the point. So I said, "Well, sister, I got a picture of him doing it on my phone if you want to see it." So I pull up the picture, Dr. Powell on the one finger.
On the one finger.
And just like him, it's like cold bucket. Or she just abandoned her argument. "Oh, I got to call Gloria and tell her they got this brother on one finger." And so the brother starts talking. So I'm telling him what I'm doing. And he says, "You need to meet Latif Sadiq." He said, "He's like a recluse. I've been trying to get him to train me for years. And a lot of brothers don't want to train with him because he's so brutal." He said the last brother he trained, he broke his leg in 3 pieces, right? Which was not true, but that's what he told me.
Right.
That was the legend of Latif Sadiq.
Right.
The brother broke his leg, but he didn't break his leg.
In 3 pieces.
Right. So I was like, I said, I gotta meet this brother. And I stayed on Abu Safi, got me the number. And when I called him, Latif Sadiq, I said, how long have you been, what years did you practice with Dr. Powell? He said, throughout the 60s. So I said, "Oh, so you studied self-defense complete." And he just got quiet on the phone. He said, "You know how long it's been since I've heard those words?" Right? Because as people that don't know, self-defense complete was the name of Dr. Powell's system before he named it Sanukis, right? So, prior to the 70s, it was self-defense complete. So, and I didn't know that you mentioned Captain Silas Shah. Professor Latif was trained not only by Dr. Moses Powell, he was also trained under Captain Silas Shah.
That's right.
And I ended up interviewing over 40 masters and grandmasters, but Latif Sadiq is the only one that before I met him, I prayed. And I prayed and I asked Allah to put it in his heart to teach me. I hadn't even seen him, but it was something about him. I said, I want him to teach me, right?
Right.
And when I went and I interviewed him, and that interview was on the Grandmasters of New York, parts of it is on the Grandmasters of New York.
Right.
We interviewed for maybe say 2 hours, and he took me in the basement. He started showing me tapes of himself, doing martial arts or what have you. And as you'll see, with a lot of them, I had a dual purpose. I wanted to interview, but as I'm interviewing these brothers, I'm also looking for teachers.
Of course.
So the ones that would stick out, that would be my next thing after the interview, was to crack on them about instruction, right?
Right.
So at a certain point, I'm ready to, I think he's the first one I asked. So I asked him, I said, how much would you charge me to teach me? And he thought about it, and he said, $5. I said, $5? He said, yeah, every time you come here, you bring me $5. He said, 'cause I got to charge you something. He said, I got to charge you something.
Yeah. Wow.
And he would teach for $5 for 2 years of $5. And then after I started bringing my son Raheem, and he would go upstairs after we trained. He would teach Raheem Arabic for $1.
Wow. Wow.
Yes,
wow.
sir.
Wow. That's
yes. So that was
go ahead,
please.
Oh no, okay, no. So, but on this journey, man, and being able to connect with a lot of these masters through our dear beloved brother, and what was some of the problems you felt that a lot of the martial arts had with students, or things, how it was going now down the road?
Man, that's a master question right there, bro. And I don't think I would have touched on that if you didn't ask. But
yes.
Most of them, as you know, are very disappointed.
Yes, sir.
After having spent most of their life teaching martial arts, and they don't feel that they have the loyalty of some of them hundreds of people they've taught. They don't. And in fact, I had this conversation with the son of O-Sensei Ronald Duncan, I think Gregory Duncan. And he was lamenting over the same thing. And for some reason, I don't know. Maybe I was tired of hearing that. I don't know. But I said the reason you don't have the loyalty is because you've been doing exhibitions for 20 years. And when you're doing exhibitions, you have people sitting in the audience. They like what they see you doing, and they want to be able to do what they see you doing. And once they're able to do some semblance of what they see you doing, they gone. You become like the college professor. You get your degree. You don't go back and check that guy out or that lady out. You got your degree. You've gone.
Move on.
So you set that type of atmosphere, because look at the old movies.
Yeah.
The old movies, you had to damn near beg the teacher to teach you. Like I had to pray that Latif Sadek would teach me, because I don't know. But if I'm sitting, and I'm not just talking about one individual, this is just what I see to answer your question.
Right.
But if I have a school and it is a business, that means that when people walk into the door, they're not begging me to be their teacher. I'm damn near begging them to be my students.
Right.
I want you to enroll. I have no real filter of who I want and who I don't. So I think that that's one of the problems that I see. And I think the solution to that problem is, in our community, we should have self-defense classes.
Right.
That are free. That are free, or a donation, or what have you. And from those self-defense classes, you'll get your students, because there'll always be those that want to learn more. Because as you're teaching basic self-defense, you're letting them know this comes from somewhere. This is a part of the system. This is part of what I devoted my life for. I'm just giving you a part so you'll be okay.
Right.
But eventually, there's always going to be some that are going to want to pursue the fullness of what you offer. And that's where you'll get the loyalty. And that's where you'll get your true students. Because now, like I said, you're not picking your students. The students are picking you.
Right. And I what's so funny is that I heard, I was reading a post by Soke Littlejohn, and I can tell that he was venting, and I could feel the vent, and I could feel the concern about students honoring him, and all the great ones are waiting until he passed on, especially after our great Soke Ali Kareem passed on. You know, that was a dear friend of mine. He always did security for my events also. And you know, I could feel it in Soke that when he passed on, that he feels that, you know, don't give them honor while they're the roses while they're dead. Give it to them now and continue to show them, because they have done a fantastic work on the street. And even with Dr. Powell's system, you know, although Dr. Powell wasn't into competition, but Soke them took it to the mat and proved that it worked. Lumumba, Grandmaster Lumumba, was one of the first champions to get in there and show that Sanukas work. You know, wherever you go, whether it's in competition or on the streets, because most of those guys were doing security for clubs or people or venues and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, that concern is very important. It's very valid. I'm not going to say it's not valid, but what Soke said, and I can definitely say that, you know, I understand where he's coming from with that. And, you know, a lot of us are at fault for, you know, just living our life and being our life and not even really checking up on the elders. You know, I'm every time I go to New York, I'm talking to Professor Bill, making sure, hey, Bob, boom, boom, boom. I don't go to Florida where Soke Littlejohn is, but every time he see me, he say, he can get on the mat. He'll smack me. Come on, get your ass on the mat. You know what I'm saying? But I haven't seen him in such a long time. But I know I make sure I give homage to the dojo right there on Washington Avenue with my brother Professor Bill, because I know he's the official chief professor. You know, that's one of the titles that was given to him. You know, that a lot of them don't hold that title. There's only a few that hold that title. I remember
it's only two.
Master Shem mentioned it also.
Yeah, and that's my teacher as well.
Happy belated birthday to him, because I know his birthday was just December 1st. If you spoke to him?
Yeah, in fact, he called me the other day, and I wondered, does he
tell him I sent a happy birthday to him? He knows who I am. You know. I don't have his number, so I couldn't call him.
He just I don't know if he would mind me saying it, but he told me the other day that he said, "Man, you know, I just found out that I'm 78 years old." He was off. He was off for almost like 10 years because he was off his birthday. About 10 years. He said, "Just found out that I'm 78 years old." Yeah, but we speak all the time. And,
you know,
and in fact, you mentioned elders.
Yes,
he sent me to, you know, brother, Sharif Shabazz used to be on Nostrand Avenue.
Of course.
He's been trying to get me to go and sit with him for a while, I must say.
Right.
And eventually I went and I found him. He'd had a stroke.
Oh,
and he's in a nursing home. And I mentioned that. Well, let me back with
right.
You mentioned you know, homage to the elders.
Right.
There was a time when I was surrounded by elderly people.
Right.
My mother,
of course,
my godfather, some of my mother's friends, and Professor Latif, because he was 82 when I met him.
Right.
And when there would be those big storms in New York, I would go over to my mother's house, shovel her snow, and then go over to Professor Latif's house and shovel his snow.
Right.
And I'm leading to something. This goes to Grandmaster Chief Professor Shem.
Right.
So when I met the Chief Professor Shem, I was elated because he was in what I thought was his 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he was in his 60s at the time.
Right.
And I was so elated because he was in such good shape. I've been around all of these elderly people, taking care of all this. It's good to be around a brother who could still do, you know.
Right.
And not long after that, he began having seizures. And from the seizures, he had brain surgery.
Yes, I heard, yes.
Now, I watched him use what he got from Dr. Moses Powell, because many don't realize there's a healing aspect in Sanukas that Dr. Powell taught. And I watched him use Sanukis to not only come out of that brain surgery, but to have them rewrite the medical books, because they had never seen anybody come out of a brain surgery, because normally they open your head up.
Yeah.
They have to wait for you to wake up. And then once you wake up, they have to determine, can he walk? Can he see? Can he talk? Does he know right from left? Chief Professor Shim never lost consciousness. He came out of the operating room arguing with his wife from a brain surgery.
Wow. Wow.
I went to see him once, and two of his disciples were moving him in the bed, and it knocked the IV loose, and his wife threw a fit. And the disciple's sister Sasha, she told his wife at the time, she said, "You don't understand." She told the wife, "You don't understand. Your husband is a master of physiology. These doctors don't know what he knows, as far as that they do what they do, he does what he does. The way they put him in the bed, they didn't have his body aligned properly so that he could heal.
Right.
So we were moving him because he asked us to move them. Then one day, the chart in the hospital where they have the faces of pain levels.
Right.
The same sister went to the doctor and said, "You're going to need to increase his pain medication." And the doctor said, "No, look at him. He's a 2. He's a 1. He's fine." She says, "No, you don't understand. He's been dealing with managing pain for 40 years. He's never going to show you what the chart says, but I'm telling you, he's at an 8 now. And for the last 2 days, he's been managing his own pain, but he's going to get tired of doing that. You need to increase his pain medication." So this is when I saw, like you mentioned, applying this. I watched a man apply his martial arts to more than just fighting and self-defense.
Right.
He fought that illness, and he came up out of that surgery.
Wow.
That there's a video I have on my channel of us training at his home, and I showed it to my wife. And my wife said, "That's good that you have some footage of him before the operation." I said, "What you mean? That was 2 weeks ago." we filmed that 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
After the operation.
Oh, wow. She must have been that get it. I should have been using this applause button, but get that round of applause. Because I remember the excruciating pain Doc used to put on Master Shem, Chief Professor. Yes. I mean, and we heard all the grunting and all the stuff on the videos and all the stuff. And him, and if it's not him, it was Oliver back in the day. I used to hear about Oliver. And Oliver, he's still doing, I just ran into one of his students, Shabazz, Brother Shabazz. So I know, from Eye Opener, we was over at a memorial last weekend for a brother named Panic. But, people that are just tuning in, we're speaking with our brother, Silas Shaw. He's a creator of a documentary called The Grandmasters of New York. All of his links are in the description of this video. Of course, on the bottom there, to help support his ventures. It's called Thin Man Ventures. Go to his Cash App, $TM Ventures. Or go to the PayPal, that's www.paypal.me/Silas Shaw. And before we bring him back up, we're going to go take a hard break. If you don't mind, Brother Silas, give me, I want to take a hard break, and then I'm going to put you in the background real quick. So family, very important to continue to support the content of something like martial arts out here, because this our teachers from the spiritual, the yin and the yang, is very important. And whether you're doing whatever arts you're doing, please, by all means, take the time out to learn it from both perspectives, the balance perspective, the yin and the yang perspective, because you'll find that a lot of the older martial artists, you find them with a lot of different ailments going on, but I think it's because of the lack of the balance. And some of the grandmasters that I've spoken to have relayed that message to me over the years, that is about bringing that balance, knowing the yin and the yang, the duality of martial arts. So we will be right back with our dear brother, Silas Shaw, and don't touch that dial. We'll be right back after this message. Hey, this is King Simon. Remember, make sure you go to my website, kingsimonproductions.wordpress.com. That's kingsimonproductions.wordpress.com, or Linktree at King Simon the Numerovator. Get all 4 of my books, and of course, that's the Numerovation for Mental Stability. Numbers are simple, people are complicated. Number are simple, children's health is important, and no promotion is bad promotion. Just spell my name right. Make sure you get them now on all my links. That's kingsimonproductions.wordpress.com. Go now. It's the Numerovational session with King Simon. Text your full name and date of birth to 347-496-1022. That's 347-496-1022. And get my books on Amazon now.
If a black brother went overseas to start training, he would wash them all the way up. Black man is bad.
And you got black brothers that ain't never even, was in no organization, with big Japanese.
That we don't have to enter Caesar's arena in order to be gladiators. But I was beating them up. I don't know how I beat them. I was beating these people like they to me they were like tissue paper.
This thing's happening now where groups are coming together that never happened before. And it started when they let the black man in. Martial arts.
Let's welcome back. Let's welcome back. Let's welcome back. Let's welcome back our brother right here, right here. Let's welcome our brother back. Thank you very much, brother, for still being here.
Yes, sir.
That clip there says a lot, of course, but big up to my dear Professor Chris behind there, and late great, a lot of them late great, man. Rico and all that, man. May they all rest in peace, man. And I had the honor of meeting a lot of the great grandmasters at the Wesley Snipes. Master Martial Arts. Did you get to come? Or
No, I don't even know. What year was that?
1998, actually, at City College.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I wasn't back on board yet.
He wasn't back on. How long were you in prison for?
I did about 9 years, 8 years, 9 months.
And you came out at what year?
I came home in 98.
Oh, you came home. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we was at the.
Actually, I came home December 97.
Okay.
Came home December 97. Yeah.
Oh man, so and being at that particular master of martial arts with Wesley, I was with the Sanukas family, of course. Master Duncan was there. Of course, the great Sijo Steve Muhammad did the whole death dance on the stage, and he showed the moves of the death moves and all that kind of stuff. Every step was a kill move. That person, he lives out here in Georgia right now.
That's my first project. My first documentary was on him.
Oh well, I see him. Yeah, I see him in few of the clips and all that.
That's the first thing I ever did. Was he was the second person Grandmaster Victor Moore was the first person I interviewed.
That's where I seen the Vic Moore thing on your show, and I remember listening to it. And a lot of people don't know that Bruce Lee could not touch him first. And he knew, but Bruce Lee called Steve Saunders some fast hands back in the day.
He said he had the fastest hands and feet he'd ever seen.
The fastest hands and feet.
And a lot of people don't like to say that. They don't like a lot of brothers. You saw, they do Bruce Lee like Jesus. You know,
don't mess up.
You say things about him that he didn't say about himself. Bruce Lee never said he was the greatest martial artist ever lived.
Exactly.
But people say that. Exactly. And the funny thing about it is when the people that say it have never seen Bruce Lee fight.
Yep.
They've seen Bruce Lee movies. But the ones that'll fight you over Bruce Lee being the greatest fighter in the world have never seen Bruce Lee fight.
Exactly. And have you spoken to Master Vic Moore? How you doing?
I haven't spoken to him in a while, but you mentioned O-Sensei Ronald Duncan. When O-Sensei passed, I had spoken with him, and when I mentioned and I don't like to be the one to tell people that other people passed, but I figured that he knew, but he didn't know. And when I told him, he gasped and he just broke down crying on the phone.
Who cried? Who was crying?
Grandmaster Victor Moore.
Oh man.
Yeah. You know when when somebody's crying, you got to wait for them to finish.
Yeah.
He I didn't know that I just assumed he knew. But then again, he's in North Carolina. I'm in New York. And when O-Sensei Duncan passed, that hurt me like a family member.
That definitely hurt me.
And I had only spoken to him on the phone.
Really?
I'd never even met him. I'd only spoken to him on the phone, and we were trying to arrange for me to come out there. And when I saw on like Facebook, like a lot of people, that he had passed.
Wow. I mean, I interviewed him on my radio show on WWRL 1600. I brought him to the radio museum to interview him at my radio museum thing, and we talked. He did one of his last lectures in Brooklyn was done at a venue that I had, and it's on YouTube. I got it on my YouTube channel where he was doing the question and answer. Sister Sensei was there, Lady Sensei was there. Sensei Jackie from out of Panama was there.
Right.
Lecture, of course, Greg held the door down. But it was so funny because at that time he didn't want. He told me, he said, Simon, there's two people that I don't want to come at this lecture. That's what he said to me. Right. He said, Sensei Vasquez and Ali Kareem. Didn't give me no reason. I don't know what was going on back in the day, but I seen pictures of them at the funeral. But I know there was a certain something that happened, and that I won't even discuss. There's one thing he did tell me about, but I'm not even going to discuss that because that was between him and I. But I was kind of felt bad because I text them and say, "Yo, he's going." Right. I want to see the family there. I want to see people that I love. I love O-Sensei Vasquez, Felix Vasquez. I love Kareem, Ali Kareem. Because every time I see O-Sensei Vasquez, he's in his black and he's walking with his hat. He's coming through. Right. And we just. I said, "Oh." Every time I see him, I have to give him love. And I realized that back in the day there was a lot going on amongst the masters, and Master Duncan is the one that came on my show and spoke about the racism in martial arts.
Yes,
still people competitions that but yet seeing what those, and he gave me a few books, man. Do I have one of the ninjutsu books with him and Steve? Steve was in there. Sensei Steven, the guy still Hayes was in there, where they was people was always against who was the first to bring ninjutsu and all that kind of stuff, and respectfully. So I dreamt about Master Duncan, and he said because there was books that I was selling that I was supposed to give the money to him. He said he came to me in my dream and said King Simon, just hold on to that. This is what he said in the dream. Just hold on to that. We're all right. We're good. Sit. And I woke up out the dream. I'm like, man, but I dreamt about Master Duncan. I've dreamt about Wayne Muhammad, Shion Wayne, one of my teachers. He used to beat my ass up on Spike Lee movie sets. But these are how people we used to train, and do security. Right. So, but it's an honor to know that you've at least documented the Grandmasters. And I remember sitting down with Dr. Powell at When Worlds Collide over there, 53 Flatbush, right over there, that near Livingston, that junction. And I remember telling him, I said, Doc, you need to write your book. We was right under the office where I was getting he was getting his haircut, and I was coming to get my haircut with Anthony Muhammad's brother, who was the haircut brother there, and Chris brother, the older brother. And he said, certain stories I just can't tell, what I'm saying? But I decided to do an article on him for this local newspaper anyway. And I did a nice little article on him, and, I still have it in my archives, man. But, I always told Master Duncan to write his book also. I told everybody, I like to tell somebody to write their book because that's a history, and doing it through visual, that's important. And a lot of people don't realize how important to you and your legacy. What do you want to see your legacy moving forward? Because you do have twins. Do you want to see them carrying on? Do you see them taking it on? How do you see your legacy moving forward before we
Okay, well, actually, I have 2 sets of twins.
Two sets, yes, that's right.
Give
that a round of applause, boy.
Right.
Woo! Is that with the same wife or a different wife?
Same wife.
Okay,
In fact, the last 2, the daughter that you saw, I delivered them myself.
Oh wow!
In fact, my son up right there, I delivered him.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say deliver him, I mean with no midwife, just me and my wife.
Oh wow!
And,
Congratulations!
we
In the house or the house? In the house.
In the house.
Okay, congratulations. Okay. Talking about.
And then we delivered when I delivered the twins in this house right here.
Oh wow!
I don't know if a midwife in New York won't deliver twins in the house.
Oh, yeah, right. I think it's an emergency, and they want to be careful. Okay, I understand.
Right. So, so I delivered my twins, right in the other room. Yeah.
Man, I mean, I grew up with midwives, and I know that ain't no joke. Watching it when I was a child.
Yeah, and my wife educated herself. And let me, when I say I delivered them with no knowledge, meaning that my wife delved into that subject to the point where I don't want to say mastered it, but I mean, she delved into that subject where she just told me what to do.
Is she a doula or a midwife now, or no? She just stay with me.
And let me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you real quick how that happened, because when you have trust in the system, it's like TV. You're in the hospital and you pass out cigars and you're pacing like on TV, and it's a joyous thing. But when you don't have trust, you have to go in there ready to go to war, because they're trying to shoot your wife up with drugs. They're trying to shoot your babies up with drugs. So it's never a pleasant experience. So when she was pregnant with my son Ibn, I'm preparing myself to go into this hospital and fight with these people. I've been in that situation. And I'm not saying I don't want to stress out, but that's my thing. I'm not looking forward to this hospital thing. So then she got a book. She got a book called Husband Assisted Childbirth, where you educate yourself to the point where you can be more involved in the delivery room. And I must admit, I didn't read any of it. She had, you just read these 3 chapters here. I just never got around to reading it. One day we were sitting in the living room. Yeah. And please, pardon me. I just want to quote it like she said it.
Right.
And she said, we talk all that shit about white people, and the minute something serious happened, that's the first place we run. So let's have this baby home. And as soon as she said that, it was like somebody took a backpack full of bricks off me.
Wow.
And I was on board.
Well, give your wife a round of applause, man. Whoa. Sometimes it takes that woman to like put that battery and say, yo, let's do this. Man, give her a round. Man, enough respect to her. So what occupation is she in now? What does she do?
She's a housewife. Okay. In fact, it's funny you asked that, because lately she's delved into the art of sourdough bread making.
Oh, good.
And this is the first time that I've seen her dive into something since she was preparing to have our son Ibn. So that Ibn is 13 now. I haven't seen her.
Is she doing sourdough or spelt bread? What is she doing? Spelt?
She's doing sourdough, but she's ordering like Italian. She has flour coming in from Italy, because you know how they tamper with the wheat over in the States. And she's starting because there's no yeast. You sourdough. You start everything from the salt, water, and flour. Right. So it might take you 5 days just to get the consistency starter going.
Right. Yeah. So tell her when she gets into spelt, let me know, because I order spelt bread.
She may have got it. I just, like I said, I don't know.
Yeah, ask her for me. I would call it. I would go to that Jewish thing that Berlin, which is the spelt making company. But if I know black folks that's making it, believe me, I support them, because I love spelt bread, because it's better. Dr. Sabi recommended that spelt, and even Dr. Africa, and so, but man, I'm glad y'all are doing what y'all got to do over there. But before we even finish off this interview, I want to make sure we still cover some ground, because this man here, we've been the guy that created this.
Yes,
That's what I need to talk about. I need to and talk about this in your meeting with Master Gatlin back in the day.
Okay.
Please.
All right. Good, because I mentioned this. It's almost like a very mystical thing. Something I don't know what it is about my personal journey with martial arts, but
Right.
I find myself not just around any average run of the mill martial artists, but some of the greatest that we've known. And my good friend who I met in prison, brother Love, here in Brooklyn, he helped me with a lot of those interviews. So he called me and told me about Professor Gatlin. Now you know how it is in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is big enough that sometimes you don't know about what's going on in Harlem and Queens and all of that, right? So I had never heard of Professor Gatlin.
Right.
So he told me about him and it caught my attention immediately. Then I go to Shion, not Shion, Kiyoshi Colleague Lewis's home.
Yes, that's right.
And he happened to have one right after. I'm talking like maybe a couple of days afterwards. He has a Toyota. So the first time I'm actually put in my hand, he has one. Right. And I'm sitting there, we're talking. I just play around, just a couple of no workout, but just And the next day, I was so sore that I thought something was wrong because I said I didn't do anything.
Yep.
Then I said, you think it could have been those two sticks that got me like I've been lifting weights all day, right?
Yeah. And
then maybe a week after that, I go to Sensei Varnex Parker house.
Yeah, I remember.
He has a toy.
Him and the twin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Vaughn and Sean, right?
Yeah, Vaughn and Sean. Yep.
And he had a Toyka.
Yeah.
So right after that, I called Professor Gatlin, and we make an arrangement for me to go out, 125th Street. I see him, and he took me through the, showing me the Toyka, stand on the back of his leg, all the stuff he do with everybody,
Right.
And we stood on 125th Street so long. I said, I guess he's not going to do the interview. Maybe he's just feeling me out. So when I mentioned, he said, no, we're going to do the interview. So we walked to Marcus Garvey Park.
Yeah.
And then we, after standing on 125th Street for an hour, we go to Marcus Garvey Park and we did the interview for an hour. Then after the interview for an hour, he showed me the Toyka. He took me through a complete Toyka workout. In fact, it's on the video clip that I had put up where that was my first time working out with it. So he's my bones are cracking. He's laughing at me. And then after he showed me the Toyka, he started going through his martial art,
his regiments, right?
And and then that, like, he flipped me on. He's doing all types, talking about grabbing, pulling my eyes out, pulling my ears off, all of that sort of thing.
Yeah. And
I told him that day that I'm not going to use anything other than this. And I've pretty much, you go to your teacher. Your teachers make you do push-ups. You do the push-ups and all of that. But that's pretty much what I work with. And we've developed somewhat of a community in Brooklyn. Myself, the brothers that are in the little short documentary that I did.
Yes.
All of the brothers in there, they're all Toyka enthusiasts. But the thing that grabs me the most about Professor Gatlin is the part where he said that he prayed for that. Because that's exactly what Chief Professor Shib told me is what Dr. Powell did. They said when Dr. Powell was 14 years old, he prayed. In fact, his exact words were he prayed to Allah for a modern system of martial art, a system of martial arts for the modern man and woman.
Yes.
That's what he prayed. And they said that once he made that prayer, they said he couldn't sit still in his chair. He said the techniques and the perspectives would come to him to the point where he couldn't even sit still. It was so much so to the point as a teenager, when Professor V would come in and he would see Dr. Powell, he would attack him because he thought he would say, "Who sent you here?" Because here you got this little teenager who's my student who said he never did martial arts before. I walk in the dojo, he's doing some things I didn't teach him that looked serious. Who sent you here? And he said, I don't have nobody sent me, nobody, I don't have no other teacher. There's a video of Dr. Powell online where he says that. He's older. And he's in front of, I think, Brother Urban and them are there. And he says, He said, I wish my teacher would have taught me this. He said, ain't nobody stand in front of me and taught me this. He said, a lot of people that wanted to backdoor Dr. Powell would go to Professor V to learn Snooker. Professor V would say, I can't teach you what Moses teach. I didn't teach Moses that. I can't teach you that. But anyway, that's the connection between him and Professor Gatlin, because they're the only two that I've ever run across who prayed for something and then were able to show you that what they prayed for and what they developed from that prayer was something that would change your life. That Toika, that, if your life is a chart, and it is going along the line, you meet people and it's a little, little zip, but there's certain people you meet, that chart, it goes up, down, right, left, because they have that impact. Right. Professor Gatlin was like that because he enabled me to understand what strength is, because most people, we think strength is muscle, but that Toika, what it does is it builds bone alignment, because in order for you to get it right, everything has to be lined up properly. So it's training that, and then it's hitting those ligaments, it's hitting those tendons, it's hitting those muscles you don't normally use, which is why I was so sore from just playing with it. Yep. And so and it changes your
perspective. That joint ain't no joke, man. That joint ain't no joke. It is not a joke.
No. And I call it a riddle.
Yeah, man.
Because it helps you figure out, and in our community, you hear people speak about knowledge of self. That's an aspect of knowledge of self, because the Toika opens up yourself to yourself, and you learn about yourself and how you work and what strength really is. Because again, we think it's muscle, and like you mentioned about the injuries during the break, a lot of our injuries come because we are making our muscles do the job that our skeleton is supposed to do. The muscles direct the movement, but the skeleton does the work. But there's nothing really in Western culture that teaches you how to utilize your skeleton in a way where you can develop the strength, like Professor Gatlin said, that we are supposed to have. And like he said, as a black man, he said that, see, let's just say you and I, maybe I should just speak for myself, but we see, when we were younger, we see a martial arts master doing all of the moves. I would say that we would be impressed because he has all the moves. Exactly. But Professor Gatlin, being a martial artist himself, he would be like, yeah, he has the move, but where's the strength?
Where's the strength? Yep.
He looks good, but the strength needed to apply it the way it was intended to be applied, he doesn't have it. And what he was saying is that the Asians that came and taught us, like Chief Professor Shim says something.
Yes.
Made perfect sense, but I never thought about it before. He said, no nation teaches another nation how to defeat them. So what would make us think that you have people coming from all over the world setting up dojos and martial arts school, and they're teaching us the way they would teach their cousins, and they're teaching us the way they would teach their children? What would make us think that? So what they taught us just enough to give us more than what we had, but they would leave things out. Salim Abdullah, who was in my documentary, he told me a story of a young fella that he knew that came up in Fujai Pao in the city, the Kung Fu school. And he said he grew up in this. I know they don't call them dojos, but he grew up in this dojo when he won them tournaments and trophies and brought accolades to the school. And as he got to be older, he realized, I've been going to this place all my life, and they've never taken me into that back room. He said, I see them go back there, but they've never taken me back there. Right. Soon enough, he found out that in the back room is where they taught Iron Palm, which was the key to the system. So they're giving him the moves, but they're not giving him the Iron Palm.
Of course, right.
So Professor Gatlin, he gave us one of the pieces that was missing, just like Dr. Powell did. Chief Professor Shim told me that, one day we were sitting talking. He said, in Sanukas, we don't pick people up. And I said, I didn't know what he meant.
That's right.
I said, what do you mean? He said, we don't pick people up. I said, what? He said, you see people when they throw, they'll pick you up on their hip. And now, Dr. Powell didn't teach it. Dr. Powell taught us how to put a man down without picking him up. He said, you know what that means? I said, well, he said, that means he gave us the key. See, when you can put a man down or throw a man without picking him off the ground, but he still goes where that other guy went that was picked off the ground, the person is giving you the key to that technique. Where you can actually skip, because in a fight, you get punched in the face in a second. You get kicked in the head in a second. You get shot in a second. Seconds count. So if you can teach me in a way where I could eliminate the seconds it takes to pick your ass up,
that's right,
and I could just put you down, that's valuable.
That's valuable. Valuable. You
Professor
cut through a lot of the bull crap. You put through a lot of the crap. That's right. Cut through the meat. Yep.
Professor Gatlin, you can teach me how to utilize my body in a way where I unlock my natural strength without lifting up 250 pounds and throwing my shoulder out. These are valuable. These men, all of them, they are treasures. You know, and that's you mentioned the legacy. I'm sorry. The legacy is the legacy I wanted to leave with this work is that I know you're familiar with Sister Octavia Butler.
Of course. Come on now.
I was introduced to her in prison. And when I came out, one of my fondest memories before Amazon is going around New York, going to the bookstores, trying to find her book. None of them really have like all of them. Right. So I went through till I got all of her books, Manhattan, Brooklyn, New Jersey. Now, whenever I see a bookstore, I would look for her books.
Right.
And then she died suddenly. She fell down the stairs. She died suddenly. And I remember one day, now there was Google. I Googled her name. I was just reading stuff about her. And I ran across an interview. And in that interview, they asked what they ask all great writers. What is your advice to people that aspire to write? And she would say what they all say, just read, read, and then read some more. But then she said something I never heard anybody say. She said, but after you finish doing all of that reading and you're ready to write, now you fix all the things you didn't like about all the stuff you was reading before you started to write.
Wow.
That's my position. When I sit back and I watch documentaries on Black people, you always get the feeling they leaving stuff out.
Right.
Because sometimes you want to make so much money, you don't want to offend certain people. So in order to not be too offensive and not to go so hard, so let me leave that out. So what I do, all the stuff that they leave on the ground, I pick it up.
That's
and
right.
If you go to my channel, you'll notice that the information that these brothers are sharing, you can't even really Google it. Because if you can Google it, I'm not going to really waste too much time on it because you can Google it. I want you to say something you've never said before.
That's right. That's right.
And I want to string together a montage, a collage of this wisdom that is kind of getting lost and put it together so that myself, those younger, those that are not aware, are connected to our martial tradition. Because that's what these brothers did. They took martial arts, whether from the military, what have you, and they presented it to our people. Because remember, coming up from slavery, we were robbed of the ability to fight. You know what I mean? We couldn't carry guns, we couldn't carry weapons, we couldn't do it. You couldn't even look at white people hostile.
Exactly.
So that affected us. So these brothers that started to teach martial science to a people who had been slaves, where, like I said, you can't even look at white people funny, and like Brother Steve Muhammad's Brother C. Joseph Beer said, when he in the documentary, the piece that I have on him was that when he had that incident where he threw the tomato can at the white man when he was a little boy, and I think it was in Kansas.
Right.
And he said, and when they came to the house, and he said, when they split up, he said they had shotguns. He said they wouldn't even let Black people have rifles. Right. Because everybody know rifles shoot longer distance than shotguns. Right. So they would give Black people shotguns so that if anything ever jumped off, they know that your bullets can't go but so far while they got rifles. Exactly. Right. So you mentioned 52 blocks. I'm of the opinion, because 52 blocks is closely related to prison culture. Right. Well, the first prisoners were the slaves. So you being a slave, being shackled up, being a slave where they don't want to see the combativeness or the militancy come out of you, we developed a defensive style. Because a lot of times we were getting beat. Go back and you watch the Jack Johnson fights, our first black heavyweight champion.
Right.
These Caucasians, they couldn't beat him.
Yeah.
But when he would beat them, if you read the old reports, they would call him a coward, even though he was beating them because they weren't used to elusive fighting. They weren't used to blocking.
Right.
You know, so they call that coward, even though they couldn't be. They call it cowardice. So that culture of blocking, Jack Dempsey, who white folks love Jack Dempsey. He said Jack Johnson was the greatest catcher of punches he had ever seen. He was all arms and elbows, right? That's what we do.
That's right.
Where does that, my theory is that style of fighting, it comes from being in that position,
right?
That position of servitude, that position of enslavement, where you always being attacked,
right?
You're defending more. Every once in a while, one of us would snap and go on the offense.
Right.
Now, you weren't doing that.
You ever spoke to Master Mo from 52 Block Federation?
I haven't.
That's my brother.
Person to mention them.
Yeah. I had him on my show too. My dear brother, man. We good. Yeah, but yeah, he's definitely not. It's not from jail. It's definitely an African thing, and he says it goes back to stemming back into that culture. So,
but I think the thing I don't like about the 52 argument is that. I do think it has a lot to do with prison culture.
Of course.
But if you ever notice, and I hope this doesn't come out, the argument over the 52 blocks,
right?
It's very subjective because the brothers that come out of prison will highlight the prison origins. The brothers that don't come out of prison will negate the prison origins, and they'll say it comes from Africa. If you notice, the ones that say Africa are not the jail cats. And I'm not even gonna get into right or wrong, but I'm saying it's all connected.
Right.
It's all connected because like in New York especially, you have Stato, Comstock Shuffle, Jailhouse Rock.
That's right.
Though that's from Jailhouse Rock is because you're in a cell. And you playing the wall and you moving like that. That's the rock. Right. The Comstock Shuffle is similar to getting off the line or in Jiu-Jitsu what they call the V-step. Right. That's the Comstock Shuffle. It's based off footwork and movement. The Stato is just dirty fighting.
And I know in his class he changed a little language only because you start teaching children. You don't want to keep on saying jailhouse or this. You want to make sure, and it's all right to change the language, but like you said, it comes from what the slaves may have been doing this while they, doing the gun. So it could have just in our DNA took it into the prison too because of being beaten up by prison guards and all those people. Right. So,
and you know what? Let me say this. I'm glad it came up because we have to understand, and I'm sure you do, that whenever we have conversations about martial arts, we're talking about martial arts during peace times. So the conversation is different during peacetime. Right. See, with dojos and belts and schools and certificates and paying every month and all, that's things you do during peacetime.
Exactly.
Even sports, UFC and all of that. That's because there's no war going on. So there's something you do, football, basketball. Instead of having two armies on a battlefield, you got two teams on a football field. Right. So instead of fighting for your life, you fight for the ball, you fight for the championship, you fight for. So these are all things people do when things are peaceful.
Building pyramids, you got to be at peace. You building temples, you got to be at peace. You can't do it under duress.
So that whole 52 thing coming out of prison is the closest you come into war times in a peaceful society. So you're gonna always have, that's like the brother that taught us, Kenyatta. See, something martial coming out of the prison is always going to be different, and it's always going to be dynamic because it's being tested every day. See, most of us, we train now for just in case. We're training, hope, in case it happens. But when you're in an environment where it is happening, and that goes back to these old grandmasters that taught in New York in the 60s and the 70s, where it was like a big jail. The crime in New York and the gangs in New York was such that you have students that are getting robbed, students that are in gangs, students that, women that are getting purse snatched. So you can't front and fake your students out, because they'll let you know that ain't work.
Yep. It's not gonna work on the street.
So that's the closest to war times that a lot of us experienced, those 60s, 70s, the 80s, like you mentioned, the crack era and all of that. So you can't negate those extreme conditions when we find them, and the things that come up out of it is to be paid attention to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely, man. Get that a round of applause. Woo! Man, this has definitely been a great conversation. Before we finish, any closing words? Because I know your YouTube channel, I got it pasted up here. People were asking about where they can see the documentaries and where they can see your stuff on YouTube. And family, if you want to support his journey, the Thin Man himself is in the building, man. Thin Man Ventures in the building. Hit him up at Cash App right there. And of course, his PayPal is there also. Show him some love. And I'm just proud of the journey that you're taking, man. Hopefully, when I come through New York, we can hang out or talk about some stuff, man. And because I know we've been passing every time we see each other, but because I wasn't even familiar with you a little bit until I looked in your. I said, okay, this brother look familiar, and I got to make sure.
Wow.
And when I see that Shaw name, I said, is he related to certain Shaws? The Yusuf Shaws or the Tariq?
Right.
I remember going to Tariq's dojo back in the day, and Tariq was showing us Cali, and of course Arnice. He was showing the stick fighting, because he trained under Doc and Professor V, and and then he got hemmed up in the prison stuff and all that. Now got prison time. So hope everything is well with him. I went and seen the documentary about him, and that was very interesting. I don't know if you ever seen that documentary about Tariq Shaw.
No, I haven't. I would like to see it though.
Oh yeah, just Google up Tariq Shaw, because there was a whole. They was blaming him about him teaching Arabs and all that kind of stuff. The whole madness. Bringing that Sanukas to the world and Vijitsu to that kind of world, and it could be. You got to be very careful and mindful, but I know I remember going to Harlem and going to his dojo briefly to learn some stuff, and I used to bounce around to a lot of different people when I was younger. So, but. I'm any last words in parting, brother, you'd like to share with the audience to let them know what's coming up in your productions, my brother?
Yes. One, the reason why the Cash App and the PayPal is there, because everything that you see on YouTube right now, I steal time from myself.
Of course.
But I would like to finish part 2, and I would like to delve more into these subjects, because my wife got me to start looking at the comments, because for years, that channel's been up there for a while. I throw stuff up and I walk away.
And you don't look at it.
So my wife was saying, now you got to look at your stuff. And so I was seeing the comments and that, because, living in New York, sometimes you take for granted the stuff that's around you. You think everybody knows, right? So that's the reason why that's up there, to kind of, so I don't have to steal time from myself to do these things. Now, the thing that I learned, and this is the most important part of my journey in martial arts, is that out of all that we've spoken about and hadn't had a chance to get to speak about, the primary lesson that I learned was that we have the fight wrong. We think that the fight is fighting,
right?
Beating up, not getting beat up, hurting, not getting hurt, hit, not getting hit. And that's a piece of it.
Yeah.
But you have people that go through their whole lives to never have a fight, So, but the real fight, especially as we start to get older, when you start finding yourself putting on those pounds, you have enough fight to keep that off. That's when you see who the real fighters are.
Exactly.
We have a lot of great boxers that we've experienced, But when you watch, sometimes as soon as they start fighting, they'll pick up the cigar, they'll pick up the whiskey, they'll start gaining weight. And then you have to look and say, wow, maybe you weren't the great fighter that I thought you were. You were just a great boxer. Just a great boxer. Because great fighters keep fighting. You know, you find yourself getting stiff. You're just gonna let that happen? Or are you gonna do something to stay pliable and flexible? Because when things start getting stiff, like if your plants in your house start getting stiff and breaking, you know there's a problem.
Exactly.
But we allow it to happen to ourselves. Technology is coming out. You're just gonna let it bypass you, or you're gonna fight to keep up. So that's what I walked away from, is that the fight is 360. There's an old white lady said one time, old age is not for sissies.
Exactly. That's the truth.
And I'm not just talking to the older people, either younger ones. You got to fight to keep up. You got to fight to learn, because there's a lot that happened before you got here. You got to have enough fight in you to go find out. You got to have enough fight to deal with the cantankerous older people that don't want to talk to you. You know, you got to find a way, because they got something for you. Just the fact that they don't want to give it, you gotta crack the nut.
I mean, I loved how you edited Master Cam's video when he said he watched that the young men was trying to get to him, and he was like real cool and poised with it. I remember meeting him a few times at the African Arts Festival and those different places as a Kemetic priest that he was. You know, and he kept on, and he said he already read that, brother, and probably just psychologically got those guys out of there, because martial art is not about the fight, because you're doing this, you're using a lot of this first.
Yeah, you gotta see it coming. Yeah, the Japanese say the true swordsman never draws his sword.
Never draws.
He's such a great swordsman that he see the fight before the fight gets started. And instead of dodging the blow or dodging the blade, he dodges the situation.
Exactly.
That's your master. That's the master.
I recall being at Steeplechase Park doing security, and I was sent to do security at the wall because people was trying to jump over the wall. And you know, I was in the Nation of Islam at that time. We were doing security at the Steeplechase Park of this reggae concert. I had to, brother trying to jump over the wall. He's the only brother. Nobody else was rushing. And I talked him back over the wall. Instead of engaging in whatever argument, I spoke to him and appealed to his consciousness.
Yes.
And he jumped right back over the fence, and I come back over there.
I had a situation like that too, where it was Labor Day, and they were trying to jump over the fence.
They always do. Yeah.
I went on the other side. I said, instead of catching, even in security, I tell people it's easier to keep a person out than to let them in and try to put them out.
Exactly.
So I want to go in a place where I catch you before you get in.
Right.
Because now your ego's involved, because you think you in. You think now I gotta send you, that's going against gravity.
Exactly. Well, my brother, I want to thank you very much for being a part of the journey. Spread love to your family, man, and thank you very much for coming on and sharing the wisdom and the wealth of wisdom that you offer, especially with the martial arts content that you provide on your YouTube channel. Please, family, this is the YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, of course, / Thin Man Ventures 3214 / videos. You can go straight there, but Thin Man Ventures is what's the YouTube channels it is, and show him some love. As he's adding more content and he wants to build up go to the Cash App or the PayPal, spread some love that way, so he could do part 2s and continue to, produce some great martial arts content that we need and our children need to watch over and over again, because our heroes back in the day was always either white martial arts, Chinese martial arts, and then all of a sudden the black ones came in and all that. I mean, David Carradine took over a slot that Bruce Lee was supposed to have, I remember. All that kind of stuff. And to the point, his madness, he went dying and hanging. They said he hung himself, so I don't know what that means. But, but brother, I commend you and thank you very much for allowing me to be here with you and enjoy the space, my brother. All right?
And I thank you, brother.
All right. Us. All right. Take care of yourself.
You as well, brother.
All right, peace. That's right. Give him a round of applause. Great job. Great job. Had a good job. Man, and I got to share one more clip from his channel real quick. If y'all don't mind, I will share a clip from his channel right here. And this is from his channel right here. So make sure y'all check out his channel. And this is just one of the clips that he sent me. I want y'all to check it out right quick. Uh-oh, error cured. I don't know what happened to the error. I don't know what happened to it. Let me see if I can find. I do want to find another clip, but I know I got the clip. I got a nice clip that I would like. Oh, oops. I know exactly where it is. Let's go right into my Facebook. I do want to share that because it's one of the clips that I shared. One of them I shared recently. Let's see if it comes up. And here it is. All right, here we go. We're going to share a clip with y'all, family, real quick before I get out of here from one of his videos. Let me see. Boom, boom, and let's do it.
When the black man, he goes into something and he really believes, he excels, man. He excels.
We excel because we've been fighting all our lives. It's nothing new to us.
It seems like he excelled above all that shit, man.
The blackness of martial art. The blackness of martial art. I can tell you a story, man, when I went up against white people, and I was one of the first that ever had the black gi on with all the white people looking at me.
You know, we've been fighting since the beginning of time. That's in our DNA.
Heard of the Ifis, but people call them pygmies. You know what they're noted for? They're elephant hunters, and they're little. A lot of people can't hunt elephants. They're very dangerous. You have to know how to fight the hunt an elephant. Come on, man.
That's right. Get that a round of applause. That's just the clips. Yeah, once again, go to the YouTube channel right there, Thin Man Ventures. Check out his YouTube channel. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, and share his YouTube channel as well as my YouTube channel. Make sure y'all spread love all the time. Do remember, family, tonight, let me throw some music on the background here. Let me throw one of my reggae tunes in the background here while we starting to close out here. Do remember tonight, I'm not finished, of course. I'm not finished. You know, I got more for you, baby. I got more for you. Tonight we have another master, this time a master of tantric health and healing. And of course, Tantra itself, our dear brother, Master Yao Morrison, will be with us live and direct tonight. So make sure you get your questions up and come on out and enjoy it tonight. So I got a double header today. So, excuse me. Also, I want to remind everybody this coming Wednesday, myself and the one, the only Carrie Ann Ingram will have this beautiful author and the healing power of visual art on trauma. Natasha Pierre Luis will be with us. On the 10th, we got another doubleheader at 3:03 and at 7:07 or 8:08, I think I have it at. But 3:03, we'll have Sharon Gordon will come to King Simon Presents for the first time. Going to be a lot of people checking it out. She's a publicist, a promoter, community leader, acclaimed journalist, an audiobook narrator, storyteller, and award-winning producer and actress. And then that later on that evening, we have our brother Copeland Forbes, author, speaker, music historian, and the recipient of Jamaica's Order of Distinction will be with us on the 10th for those two double headers that particular day on the 10th. And on the 13th, we have our great astrologer himself, the skeptic, from skeptic to believer, a personal journey into discovering the transformative power of astrology. He will be with us, Samuel F. Reynolds. And do remember, if you're in Brooklyn, New York, I may interview Wayne Chandler before this happens. So look out for him coming to this channel. But make sure if y'all in Nicholas, Brooklyn, y'all going to be in Brooklyn on the 16th. Call Nicholas at 718-858-4400 to find out about tickets and how to buy your tickets. And remember, you can take my classes. Check out my girl, Carrie Ann Ingram, and also Lloyd Strayhorn. And if you want to advertise, please contact us via the email right there in the bottom. And do remember, you can get all my books at King Simon Presents, King Simon, the Numerovator at Linktree/King Simon, the Numerovator. Hit me up. Also, if you want to book a session, text me your full name and date of birth to 347-496-1022. That's 347-496-1022. 1022. Remember, accept what is, let go of what was, and have faith in what will be. Remember what Dr. B says, I forgive myself, my family, and others for imperfection, and I am thankful for my life. And like Dr. Delbert Blair used to say, please, universal creator, know in my heart that I love you. Please protect me and this planet on which I live now. Please open my mind, my spirit, and my soul to receive only truth in your love now. Thank you, Dr. Blair, for all you shared and offered throughout the years. Remember, this coming Tuesday, I should be doing this, the Numerovational Perspective, where you get to call in while you donate. Call in the show while you donate. You donate, call in, and we'll drop the numbers, the Numerovational Perspective, and how we can guide you the best way we can from a simple perspective, not a full consultation, but it's a simple perspective. Believe that, and we like to have fun doing it. All right, so I hope everybody's well. I hope everybody have a good time. Enjoy, and thank everybody for participating in the live and everything that you shared and all the love that you showed. Once again, I want to thank you. My name is King Simon. I am your host of King Simon Presents Only Quality People, the Numerovation Nation, and of course the Healing Vibes with myself and Kerry Ann Ingram. Thank you again, family. Be strong, be focused, be safe, be great in whatever you do, because whatever you do is being watched by with people around you in this realm and the spiritual realm. Take care. Peace. Content disclaimer. The views, comments, and opinions expressed by guest speakers or authors on this YouTube channel do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by this channel's broadcasters and its sponsors. Parental guidance is advised. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teachers, scholarship, education, and research. For fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringed. It's the Numerovational Session with King Simon. Text your full name and date of birth to 347-496-1022. That's 347-496-1022. And get my books on Amazon now. This is King Simon. Remember, make sure you go to my website, kingsimonproductions.wordpress.com. That's kingsimonproductions.wordpress.com, or Linktr.ee at King Simon the Numerovator. Get all 4 of my books, and of course, that's the Numerovation for Mental Stability. Numbers are simple, people are complicated. Numbers are simple, children's health is important, and no promotion is bad promotion. Just spell my name right. Make sure you get them now on all my links. That's kingsimonproductions.wordpress.com. Go now.
In them that if it is sparked through numerology, astrology, motivation, whatever, it will raise them up from an 85%, maybe to a 10%, and eventually they become the 5%, the poor or prosperous righteous teachers. You gotta understand that this knowledge is not just for one class of people. We gotta get out of the class.